Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean,
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
I'm just so used to barfing right now.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
I am ashamed to live in this world.
I am the devil. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
And Caleb.
Oh, no.
And we are here to talk all things tech this week in Spanish.
No.
And not really, because I don't know any.
Honestly,
So-
I don't know much past that either, so it's okay.
Is that it? Okay. Okay. Thank goodness, because I would not be able to contribute at all. I mean, I barely do anyway, but that's besides the point. Hey, this week, guys, there was an announcement, maybe a little bit of a leak earlier, but we're going to talk about Windows and their new operating system. What do you say we start off with that? Because, you know, some people might want to know.
Yeah, that's fair.
But before we get into this,
Wait. You're messing with my mind.
I'm totally messing with you.
We're
No,
going to
this is
talk
important.
about a new...
I feel this is important, and it does go along with a Windows operating system.
Uh-oh.
Okay? Before we talk about the new, we have to talk about the old. Okay? You following me so far? I just want everyone to know that in the year 2025, on October 14th, Windows 10 will end its support. So we have to talk about the old to make sure people know about this, that the support is going to end again on October 14th, 2025. So you have to be thinking about this.
You know, they say that.
I know.
But they
say
said
that.
something similar about Windows 7 about 4 times before they finally ended support for it. So,
You'd think that they would support their quote unquote last operating system longer than they supported Windows XP, but guess not.
I mean, yeah.
Windows XP is the anomaly.
True.
It's just there were too many ATMs being powered by it. That's the issue.
Yeah, it's fair.
ATMs, hospitals, I mean,
yeah.
everything.
In fact, there's
so.
probably still ATMs being powered by it, let's be honest.
True. But I did want to mention that because, I mean, that's something to think about, especially if you're a developer, own a business, things like that. You have, almost 4 years left on this support. But you never know. Like we said before, Microsoft has extended certain support. So, but I did want to put that in everyone's ear to say, hey, this is coming up because of the new announcement of the new Windows 11. Who'd have guessed?
Yay.
That was going to be the name.
I'm actually kind of disappointed they didn't call it Windows Series X or something like that.
Series X/S,
Windows 1.
You know what? By the end of the episode, because I have host powers, I want Caleb to come up with a better name for Windows 11.
You already did.
I think I just came up with 2 better names.
Okay, fine. I just wanted something a little better.
Windows 760 or Windows 360.
360.
No, Windows 365. There you go. Just line it up with Office. That's the obvious solution.
That's very
obvious
confusing.
solution, Microsoft.
Obvious.
Make it a subscription. And really piss
Or-
everyone off.
Or they could just call it like Windows Redmond and start naming it after towns in
In Washington.
Washington.
That would be
Or like-
amazing.
I mean, they've stolen everything else from Apple. They may as well do that too. I'm just kidding. Only slightly. I'm slightly kidding.
I mean, everyone steals from Apple. Come on. Let's
true.
be real. They're successful.
That's true.
So you have,
And I will say, if you're going to steal anything from Apple, the visual design of their stuff is probably the one thing to steal from them. So,
yes.
That's
hey, we'll
fair.
get into that. But I did want to mention also that they did come out and say that Windows 11 will be a free upgrade to those with a Windows 10 PC. Now, there is an underlining saying that meet the new system requirements.
Yes.
And why don't we go ahead and let's talk about the system requirements, shall we? So, they did beef up the system requirements for Windows 11. It does say it requires at least a dual-core 1 gigahertz CPU, 4 gigs of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of storage.
So I would just, for the record, like to get out there that I have run Windows 10 on a single core processor with less than 4 gigs of RAM and less than 64 gigs of storage space. And I would like to clear up for everybody that those are the same requirements for Windows 10 if you want to have any kind of a reasonably good experience with it. If you're still running a single core processor and less than 4 gigs of RAM in the year of our Lord 2021, I don't know what your problem is, especially if you're installing your OS onto a 32 gig boot drive and then expecting to be able to install literally anything else. Just stop buying PCs for $100 from Walmart on Black Friday or something like that. Like this is for you, listener, that did that. I'm looking at you. Kevin.
Nice.
Don't.
Nice.
Stop.
Good job. All right, side note. There's also one other thing. Windows 11 will be only 64-bit.
About frickin' time.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I know.
like, I'm sorry, those of you still running Pentium 4s, but what were you expecting? Your processor came out in 2005? It's been almost 20 years, people. Move on. I don't know. 32-bit is,
yeah.
32-bit has been dead for a long time. Yeah.
Well, and this is good that they're doing this, and it's time, like we said, to finally put that nail in the coffin and be like, hey,
oh, yes,
let's do this.
And it's not like Windows is going to have anything to worry about because Apple already did this a few years ago. So all the apps that needed to be updated have been updated.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, frickin' on the desktop side, Apple went 64-bit exclusively in 2007 or something like that. Mac OS was 64-bit in 2007. They dropped the deadline for look, we're going to drop support for 32-bit apps. That was in 2016, 2017, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember on the desktop side of things.
Yeah,
it was a couple of years later for the mobile side. But yeah, so all of the software has been 64-bit for ages now. I guess with the exception of maybe some very under-supported open source projects that that Linux users are still using. But yeah, let's put it that way. Listener, if you're still running a 32-bit processor with less than 4 gigs of RAM, because if you have a 32-bit processor, you literally can't have 4 gigs of RAM. You're limited to 3.5 or something like that. Then Linux is now what you should be running on that computer. Just full stop. And honestly, it's been that way for a while. Because yes, like I said, I've used Windows 10 on computers with less than 4 gigs of RAM and a single core architecture, and it just does not work. Windows 10 does not like that. So yes, these are now the official requirements for Windows 11, but it's been this way for a while in the real world.
Yep. So it'll be on both 64-bit forms on both Intel style 64-bit and ARM systems on there. So they'll still have those two. Now, kind of more of a lot of people on the controversial side of this. We'll kind of dab in and out what people like or dislike, obviously, because we have Caleb and he'll definitely let us know. So Windows 11 Home will require a Microsoft account to install and an internet connection. So
this is kind of dumb. That being said, the version of Windows 8 that I wound up with that ended up installed on all of my computers, that ended up upgrading to Windows 10 for free from Windows 8, because that's how I got Windows 10 on all of my PCs. That was a Pro license, so I'm wondering if they'll give me Pro for free with Windows 11. I don't know. And I also wonder if you're updating to, like, if you're doing a new install of Windows 11 Home, I'm sure it's going to be like, all right, here's where you put in your Windows password, and it's not really going to let you get around that. But if you are upgrading on a computer that already doesn't have that, I wonder if they're still going to require it. Like, I know they said that it requires it, but they kind of said that about Windows 10 too, and there were loopholes. So
true.
I wonder.
You are true.
It'll be interesting to see, but I guess I'm not really that surprised. I'm signed in with my Windows account on my main gaming rig, because that actually keeps it keeps your OS from deauthorizing itself every time you like swap out a graphics card or change the RAM configuration or something like that. So that's the convenient, easy way for me to do it, for my main PC. And I suspect that for most people, it's really not that big of a deal. You probably already have a Windows account anyways, because you clicked on the wrong button while you were setting up Windows 10 or Windows 8 even. So you've got one. Just sign in. It's fine.
Yeah, even if you used your Gmail or another account that's not a Windows account, it's still,
Yeah, which is my live account is tied to my Gmail. So
yeah. So, okay, next thing they talked about was Windows updates improvements. They said the Windows update will be faster, more efficient, with updates that are 40% smaller and install in the background.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Believe it when we see it. Yeah, exactly. Words right out of my mouth, right there. Yep. I will quickly say this. You might be able to talk a little more on it, Caleb. They said they have more snap layouts and snap groups. I guess this is a thing a while back that they tried, and I guess Apple sued them for it because it was a lot like what was going on in Mac OS or something.
Apple for Windows, how Apple deals with window snapping in Mac OS is stupid. It's dumb, but simultaneously also fine. Like, if you like being able to quickly snap windows, then, being able to just drag it up to a corner and it'll take up a quarter of the screen, or to one side and it'll take up half the screen, or the top or bottom or whatever. Windows has been doing that for ages. They're now adding the ability to create groups of those snapped windows, like, and set it up so that you've got 3 columned windows across your desktop or whatever. And I've seen it. It actually looks pretty cool. It does sort of remind me of the quote unquote full screen window management controls in Mac OS, but Apple has no reason to be proud of those, and no justification claiming that they did anything good with them, because they're trash. So yeah.
Okay, so it's nothing too big. They're just kind of
no, it's
okay.
It, like, they may have tried to sue Microsoft over like the concept of doing this sort of grouping, but there's no way that would hold up in court, because the judge would look at Apple's and look at Microsoft's and be like, but one of these works and the other one doesn't. So I'm not sure what you're complaining about here. They're clearly two different things.
This one and people aren't. So
exactly.
You're just mad that they don't use yours.
That's funny. Okay, we'll move on then. I knew that was kind of a niche thing, but I'll probably learn that stuff a little later if I do get a Windows 11 PC. We'll see. Anyway,
you'll do it.
Yeah,
if
I will.
What?
But
if
I will, of course.
It's free. You paid for 2 Xboxes. You're going to get a free update. Come on.
Shh. Don't say that out loud. People get mad. That happened at work the other day. Someone's like, "Hey, I heard that you got one of the new Xboxes." I'm like, "Yeah, I got 2," and he's just like, "I don't want to talk to you anymore." Oh. Okay, I didn't know that was a bad thing. Okay, moving on. One thing I do like that they are improving is multi-monitor improvements. So it says now when you disconnect a secondary display, any apps will minimize to the taskbar on, say, a laptop or whatever you have, so they actually don't go away. And then when you reconnect it, everything just goes back to where it was, instead of moving it to one monitor and then you got to remove everything back,
like
and
randomly resizing everything and changing the view scaling of it's so bad now.
Yeah.
Windows, this is the one thing that, like, hands down, Windows 10 sucks at is window management when you are unplugging and replugging monitors. It is awful. It's horrible. I guess actually their HDR content support and just like display scaling, generally speaking, are not great. But this is just, it's awful. And coming from a Mac to that, like seeing how Apple did things with their multiple displays, depending on how you have it set up, I guess. But if you have it set up wisely, you unplug it and it just takes everything that was on that desktop, makes a new virtual desktop of it, and then kind of sticks everything on there. Yeah. And then you plug it back in and it goes, oh yeah, you want everything. It's really nice. It's really nice to have an operating system that doesn't do stupid things with your Windows when you unplug your laptop. So really looking forward to that.
That's what I was going to ask. Does Microsoft, or are they going to add the virtual desktop thing where you can just swipe over to a different desktop?
It's currently there already. They added that in Windows 10 about 2 years ago almost, but almost nobody uses it because I'm not sure why. Microsoft users are just resistant to changes and improvements or something. I don't know.
That's like one of my favorite features on my Mac is because,
it's genuinely fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. And so like when I saw this new feature on Windows 11 that it will just save your desktop, I was like, oh, they should just put that as a virtual desktop because that makes sense and that's how it works on Macs. So I'm like, duh.
They're not doing that quite, but they do have virtual desktops in Windows 10, and Windows 11 is introducing some improvements to virtual desktops. Hopefully the speed of switching will be improved because that's quite frankly the biggest issue with them currently. They're kind of slow, but yeah, they're there and they're making some improvements. I'm not sure how well. That was actually one of the things they talked about in conjunction with external monitor support and stuff like that was virtual desktops. So I think, they're adding the ability to make it so that your two virtual desktops, like, for your laptop screen and then your external monitor can be separate from each other the same way that you can do in Mac OS. Right. And you can manage them separately, which it's good. These are good things that I really like in Mac OS. And before they were in Mac OS, I really liked them for like the 15 years they were in Linux before anybody else did anything with them. Yeah, all the good features, they're in Linux first, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see these things, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. So let's talk about something that's not exciting to Caleb, but probably to other people that use Teams. So we're currently right now on we'll say Windows 10, you have a little icon on the bottom of your taskbar that says Meet Now. Shows a little camera, and no one uses it. So they're going to replace that with a new Teams panel, which someone that uses Teams, this would be way more useful than a completely different thing like Skype or something else. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well, so here's the thing. What they are doing is they're integrating a messaging app into their operating system. This is not unusual. Apple does this. It's called Messages. Android does this. It's called
Messages.
So this is not an uncommon thing to integrate an OS level supported chat app in your OS. Pretty common. We've actually been doing this for years and years and years. Microsoft owns Skype, and they've chosen to integrate their business chat app instead of Skype.
They know it sucks, so they're not going to use it.
It's the same basic functionality. Like, you have most of the same functionality between Skype and Teams because a lot of the functionality that's in Teams was taken from Skype. Like, let's be honest, Microsoft bought Skype so that they could make Teams pretty much. But they've been pitching it so hard at businesses and only just recently have started talking to like normal users as like, hey, here's this thing. It's Teams. It's cool. But it's still called Teams. Nobody's going to hear Teams and think, oh yeah, this is the messaging system I should use for my family or something like that. It's because they're my team. I don't know. This just seems like a really weird direction to go, especially from the company that, as I mentioned, they still own Skype. Skype is still a thing. It still works. Like I don't know.
Right.
Microsoft, I don't understand this decision. But to be fair, I don't understand any of the decisions Microsoft has made about Teams. Hopefully, integrating it directly into the OS will make it so that the notifications don't suck. That's
Maybe.
all I can hope for.
I would assume. We'll just see. We'll see it or believe it when we see it. How's that?
Yes, as with most things like this.
So the next thing they talked about was Windows widgets. So you can personalize and feed powered by AI curated content with widgets.
Yeah. So this is kind of replacing live tiles, sort of.
Yeah.
Like distantly.
Yes.
What it made me think of is like on iOS, when you scroll over to the left, it's got your widgets and little news feed or whatever is right there that you can set up. And the same thing with on Android, it's got the Discover feed all the way to the left. That's kind of what it reminded me of, because you swipe over if you're on a touch screen device to get to this. And it's basically like that's almost exactly what it is, just on your desktop. And that's what it made me think of.
And actually, I guess that's true. The fact that it's powered by AI, like that is, monitoring your data and your habits and stuff like that and deciding what to show you when. Given that it's kind of more like their new little thing that they added down by the clock on the Windows 10 taskbar. What was that called? I turned it off as soon as it showed up in the update. So I don't remember what it's called, but
the weather.
Yeah.
Thing,
And like you could click on that and it would show you.
I think it's interests.
Interests, that's it. So yeah, you click on that and it would show you various AI things. And I immediately turned it off. I was like, get this TF out of here. And
maybe
I've got
just a better one.
Maybe. But here's my thing. This sort of thing, uses resources in the background because it's like going out to the cloud and it's grabbing stuff. And I don't mind that on my Mac because I don't game on my Mac, but on my Windows PC, that matters. And so as long as they give me the ability to turn this feature off, cool.
Or maybe just update once when you...
Yes, or control how frequently it updates. Or yes, if it's not doing background updates, then that would work as well. But yeah, like it's there, and it's a feature that exists in other operating systems and even Windows 10 in a way. So I guess some people must use it because literally every OS has it now.
Yeah.
I don't use it, but people must be, right? Listener.
That's because you're a what did you say earlier? Windows user that doesn't like new stuff.
That must be it.
Well, they're all slightly different on every operating system.
No, it's true. Too. It's true. There's some that work better than others, and so
I don't use them anywhere, but I don't know. Listener, if you use these little AI powered like news update and whatever panels that are in iOS and Android and in Windows and Mac OS, go ahead and send us an email and let us know, because or tweet at us or message us on Facebook or something like that. I'm genuinely curious. Landon's pointing at himself, so I guess Landon does.
I did on Android, like the Discover feed thing. I use that quite a bit, and I still do on iOS. I use the Google version. Like if I tap on my Google widget, if it doesn't immediately go to like just search something, it'll go to what was the Discover feed on my Android device, and it just gives me different news. It's like a news article type thing on Android is what this is. Yeah. And it just shows me stuff that I am interested in. That's like, I don't mind that. Like it gives me, like, that's kind of how I find some of the tech news that I look into and stuff. But
I guess that's true. I do have on my Android phone, I do the Microsoft launcher, and it does give me stuff that I'm interested in like that too. So that I've picked what I'm interested in or what I want to see. So,
And so idea. Like this thing, if it's like what it seems to be is more than just that. It's more than just news. It's like going to show you widgets and different applications that you generally use on a regular basis on your computer. Could be beneficial, again, if you utilize it. If it's something that you go to often enough that it will update itself and learn what you're doing, then I think it could be useful. It's just going to take a minute to get useful because it's got to learn what you do and how you use your computer first.
Okay. I mean, we'll definitely see more as it comes up, like I said, for widgets. The one thing I did want to add at the end of that was it will support third-party content from developers. So, and we'll talk about this third party, shall we, in the new store. The new store is supposed to be very fluent. It's supposed to be much simpler and has the new capabilities of third parties, big and small. But, so what they were talking about was actually bringing Android apps to the store. But it's the Amazon App Store.
So
it's really funny because the way they worded this is like, Android apps will run natively on Windows. And like, no, this is not native at all. Because
no. Hold on. The apps will run natively. You just have to get them from the Amazon store, which is crap.
Oof.
So,
So here's the thing. I don't have anything Amazon on the store. Like I know like Samsung has their own store. I know all these others. Landon, don't your kids have a Fire tablet? Does that have the Amazon store? Is there actually decent stuff there?
I mean, it's very similar to the Android Play Store, but
much more limited.
Yeah. There's not nearly as many apps there because it's another place that developers have to put their app, and it's not as popular as the regular Play Store or iOS store. So there's really not as big of an incentive to put your apps there. And also the biggest thing I think that most people buy Fire tablets for that would have the Amazon App Store is for their kids. And so most of like the apps that any adult would want aren't going to be there. Well, okay, the biggest, like all the big apps are going to be there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's true, but they did also mention, I'm going to assume this is in part of this, what I'm about to say is in part of what's happening with Epic Store versus Apple. They did say that the new store features include a pop-up store that now lets users install apps directly from the browser, plus more revenue sharing options for developers, including keeping 100% of the revenues when you bring your own commerce platform.
Yes. Interesting. Which does not mean you keep 100% of the revenue, to be clear, unless you have, like, you own your own commerce platform. It just means that the profit sharing is going to be with the owner of the commerce platform and not Microsoft. Which, okay. And they're definitely doing that to try and get people to actually put their apps into the Microsoft store because, nobody does that except for Xbox game developers who have to because Microsoft said so.
Well, it's not really that. It's like, I mean, now they made it to where, like, if you develop for the Xbox, it literally can just move over to the PC now.
Right.
Or vice versa. So it's not really, you have to, but...
They're developing a Steam version for the games anyways, most of them, now that that's just they're also on the Xbox store. And I think it's probably got more to do with Game Pass than anything else. Microsoft wants the games to be on Game Pass, which means they have to be supported through the store. But that's beside the point. They don't have a ton of support in the Microsoft store for most developers, and they're just trying to make it as basic as possible. So yeah, the revenue sharing deal is if you bring your own commerce platform to the store, like to process payments, then you don't pay Microsoft jack diddly unless you're a game developer, because those games are already there.
Yeah, good point.
So people are already using it for games. So game devs kind of get the short end of the stick in this case. But yeah, it is a nice touch. And I feel like it's worth mentioning. Microsoft did not talk about this in their event because of course they didn't, but you can sideload Android apps as well. You can install APKs directly into Windows without going through the Amazon App Store. Yeah. They are baking in support for Android apps just at the OS level. So, which I'm sure it's an emulator, probably.
Yeah. And I'm sure they went with Amazon because they wanted... So the way it works is you can search for these apps inside of the Windows Store. And then when you go to download one the first time, it first has you download the Amazon App Store from the Windows Store, and then it will download the app whatever you were trying to download. But again, they're doing this through the Windows Store, and I'm willing to bet that Google was like, no, we're not going to do that. If you want Android apps, you can get the Play Store and download them from the web or something like that. But Amazon was like, oh, yeah, sure, go take this, put it in your own thing. That'll work. Yeah. And that's probably why they're doing it that way instead of with Google. But I don't know. I mean, if you really want to run Android apps on your desktop, you've got other problems to worry about, I think.
For the most part. I mean, there are the occasional, like, I really hate this particular streaming service's browser interface.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather have their app, but it's not Netflix or Hulu, and so it's not on the Microsoft Store. So you'll be able to get those, even if you have to sideload them from, a Play Store APK. But that's like the one thing that makes sense to me, Ramla. Like, that seems like a use case for this.
Yeah.
There may be others that I'm just not thinking of, but
yeah. Also, if you are going to sideload apps from just downloading APKs, I would recommend apkmirror.com. They are legitimate and they don't have spam stuff in there. That's going to be your safest bet.
Yes.
Instead of just going to some random website that's really sketchy.
No, basically, listener, if you have not learned the fine art of being able to decipher which download now button is the actual download now button on a website like like Two Cows, that's gone to the dogs. And what was the other one? SourceForge. If you can't go to SourceForge and immediately tell where the actual download link is among the 20 that are on screen, you should be very careful about sideloading apps. Just put it that way. This is a skill set that takes mistakes to hone, and I would not advocate that anybody make those mistakes. You might lose all your data.
Yes. Okay. Moving on a little bit. Speaking of that, let's talk. I'm going to kind of go over this for developers. Like I said, we are not developers, so we may have a little tidbits and comments on this, but I'm going to go ahead and say a couple things here in case you wanted to know. It did talk about that there is some web development improvements. It says developers can use the PWA Builder 3 to a PWA from an existing web app in minutes. The web view to runtime will also be included with Windows 11, and tools like Windows Terminal and the new Microsoft Edge DevTools will be included with Windows 11. The new features for native Windows apps. So a while ago we talked about Project Reunion. They're actually going to rebrand it as Windows App SDK and will be released later this year with a new ARM64 emulation compatible tool, which will allow developers to build apps and that will run natively on Windows on ARM and with ARM64 EC. Developers can mix native ARM and emulated 64 code in the same process is kind of what it talks about. So that's kind of cool on there. So got really good stuff that I feel is really good improvements. Hopefully out the door. Obviously out the door there's going to be little things here and there, but hopefully it's really good. Now I'm going to talk on the game. We're not going to get into the gaming side of things, but I want to talk about the gaming on what they talked about for this here. So what's new for Windows 11 for the gamers? They did talk about that they have auto HDR. Obviously this feature debuted on the Xbox Series X and S, and they did announce that it was coming to Windows, and it automatically adds high dynamic range enhancements to games that are built on DirectX 11 or newer, and that previously only leveraged standard dynamic range. So, cool. Next is the direct storage. That was another feature, obviously, that's on Xbox Series S and X. Big thing that they toted about, but they did say that it will use the direct storage, so it'll load everything quicker. All the assets and everything will load quicker, so it doesn't hit the graphics cards or the CPU doesn't bog down as much. So that's really nice. And they're going to call it Direct Storage Optimized Windows 11 PCs. It's kind of what they were talking about. They also said that your Xbox Game Pass for PC, this subscription will be accessible on the Xbox app that will be included in Windows 11, as well as Xbox Cloud Gaming. That's what they're trying to call it, not xCloud, but I'm going to continue to call it xCloud because that's easier.
It's a better name. It's just a better name.
This is one that Caleb agrees with you on the X.
Right?
Stick with it.
Like, seriously.
xCloud.
Like, you had Xbox before anybody else was doing X stuff. So, like, just use it. That's your brand, man. Anyway.
Right. And then it did say this feature will be also available on Windows 11 PCs via the Xbox app, and also runs through any supported web browser, including Microsoft Edge. Even an entry-level PC, they said, can play biggest Xbox titles. So and that will be going actually through the Xbox app too. So download the app. You can do the cloud gaming there or your browser. So that there is a lot of the features that are coming. Now let's talk about things that are being removed or slowly going away. The things that we did talk about, but we're going to go through this real fast. These features are 3D Viewer. That one's kind of going away. Cortana.
Hey!
They said Cortana won't blow out your eardrums during setup's first boot experience and will no longer be pinned on the taskbar.
Oh, thank you. Especially since they made removing her from the taskbar kind of a chore. Honestly,
yeah.
That's like 4 menus deep in the right click. Seriously. So annoying.
They said desktop wallpaper roaming. So it says Windows 11 will not roam desktop wallpaper from PC to PC when you sign in with a Microsoft account.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought that was annoying, so.
Yeah. They did say Internet Explorer is being disabled, not removed.
Oh my gosh, Microsoft.
Why won't they just kill it?
Not
Oh
sure.
my gosh.
They did say the lock screen quick status is being removed from the lock screen.
Oh.
Math input panel and math recognizer is removed, and the math input panel is removed, and the math recognizer will be installed on demand. I don't use those, so
No, me either.
News and interest. They did say that despite just shipping in Windows 10, news and interest will be replaced by the new widgets feature in Windows 11.
I gotta say, when that showed up in Windows 10, I about punched my computer. I was like, what is that?
That's what I did with Cortana. I'm like,
nobody asked for this.
They did say OneNote for Windows 10. You can just get it from the store. It's not going to come pre-installed. That's if you want it. No, yes. Next, 3D Paint. Or Paint 3D, however you call it. It says
so basically,
dead, but you can still get it from the store if you want, but they're not
basically all of this 3D stuff that they introduced into Windows 10 over the past couple of years, and that they've released.
Update,
yeah.
The creators
and that they've
update.
released all of these like ads about how cool is this? How cool is it turns out nobody's using it. Absolutely nobody. I actually feel kind of sorry for the engineers that developed that.
Let's talk about
Oh
yeah.
No.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to make fun of Microsoft some more. It's fine. I've done
I'm
enough
sure
of
there's
that
more
today.
I'm sure I can get you to do it more. S mode. Go ahead. Make fun. No.
Mode.
S mode will only be available in Windows 11 Home Edition going forward.
Yes, because people definitely use that.
Which is interesting because now they're saying in S mode you can download Amazon apps third party, which that you weren't supposed to before, but because it's in the Windows Store. Anyway, they'll talk about that one later. Snipping tool is available in Windows 10, but it looks like works like Snip and Sketch is what they're saying. So something I don't use. So
Okay.
The start menu. The all-new Windows 11 start menu no longer supports live tiles, groups, folders, pinned apps, and pinned sites.
Yeah, not supporting folders is going to be kind of weird. That is that is a paradigm that has been around since frickin' like Windows 3.
Yeah.
It's going to be different.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see how this goes. Tablet mode. Windows 11 does not support tablet mode. That's what it said. Just does not support it.
Yep.
That's because it kind of is tablet mode.
Yeah.
Right?
Sort of
Better
is.
tablet mode.
I mean, it does change a slight bit when you're in tablet mode, but it's not a major difference.
Yeah. The taskbar. Windows 11 taskbar does not offer My People, which was previously deprecated, and it can now be aligned to the bottom of the screen. Dope.
Yep.
Timeline is dead. Do you guys remember what timeline is?
What was timeline? I have no idea.
Oh, it's the thing where if you're looking at something on your phone, and then you go to your PC and you're like, you were looking at this website or this thing here. Do you want to go back?
Huh.
It's dead.
It's a weird name to call it.
It's kind of not dead, though, because everybody who's using Chrome on their phone and their computer still has that through Chrome. And, that's everybody, right?
I think they're just killing their version.
Yeah, which I'm not surprised.
Touch keyboard no longer supports docked and undocked layouts on screen sizes 18 inches and larger. And the wallet is also dead. So
they had a wallet?
Yep, they did.
Wow.
That's probably from when they were doing Windows Mobile, and they just never got rid of it.
I suppose I understand why most of these things are being killed. This is like legit the first time I've heard about several of those features.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about them, but it was like as soon as we talked about it on it, I know I've talked about Wallet and a couple other things, but it was just shortly just dead because no one used it. They didn't bring it to like a mobile phone, I
thought it was on mobile.
No, it was
because it had NFC payments. Like you could pay for stuff with Windows Mobile. I know you could. I know people that did. I was gonna say I know someone that did, so I know it was there.
Was it who we worked with before?
Yeah.
Did he use it?
Yeah.
Oh, I never did. And I had the same phone as him.
That's the only reason why Windows would have a wallet app. It'd be because of mobile. You can't. I'm not taking my computer to pay for things. That's stupid.
I think it was more for shopping online. Is when you're just like, oh, you have this kind of more secure. When you're shopping, you'd be like, oh, use this, and it would send it over instead of you typing stuff. But there were other apps that people were using that did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's dead.
Google Chrome did that.
Bingo.
Or LastPass does it too.
I know. So anyway, that's pretty much a lot of big points that came out for Windows 11. If you do want to see more, listener, there's a lot more. Obviously, there's a whole video that they talked about. You can see how things run, how things are fluent, their screenshots. And if you do want to download it, they are coming out with the Windows Insider for developers where you can install, mess with it. That's also a developer side of things you can do, or the leaked version if you really, really want to. But I would highly recommend not.
No, don't do that. That's scary. Don't do
so. But if you want to check it out, that is available. So
yeah. And, obviously this is a podcast, but if you want to see pictures and stuff like that, just, Google Windows 11 and you can find pictures of it. And don't be surprised when it first pops up. It looks like Mac OS. It's not. It's Windows 11. It
is not.
Just looks a little bit like Mac OS.
I mean, if you want to know just how much it looks like Mac OS, so before we started recording, listener, I shared my screen with these two, and I have one of the Windows 10 wallpapers as my wallpaper. And Windows 11. And I said, "Hey, look, I've got Windows 11 on my Mac." And Caleb had to look for the Finder window.
He legit caught me by surprise. I was like, "What did you do?" And then I saw the Finder icon in the dock, and I was like, "Oh, wait, okay."
That's how much it looks like Mac because you could fool somebody, obviously.
Yep. It's pretty darn similar, which, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, if you're going to copy one thing from Apple, their visual style is the thing to copy.
Yes.
Yeah. And overall, I think from what I've seen, what I'm reading, it seems good. Seems like a positive upgrade or a step forward.
Yeah,
so
we just are going to have to see, but it currently looks like they might have actually broken the cycle.
Let's hope.
Maybe. Well, I mean, I do like where Windows 10 ended up. I mean, it took both operating systems of 7 and 8 and just kind of was like, because I know they really wanted to try with those tiles. I was in it because I used Windows Phone for a long time, so I understood it. But guess what? Not a lot of other people used it.
No, Windows
8 I did not like because, oh my gosh.
Windows 8
I will
was
say
bad.
that.
Tiles just didn't work well on a desktop. And that they were trying to push too heavily the touchscreen devices. And
they were.
like, if they would have they kind of made a desktop mode and it was somewhat better, but it was, I don't know, they went too into the desk or the mobile type device and it just didn't work.
Look, everybody agrees that from like Windows 3 on, they have been cycling. Every other one is good. Windows 3, not so good. Windows 3.1 was good. Windows 95, not so good. Windows 98 is good. Windows ME, like that crap, not so good. Windows XP, good, like solid. Windows Vista, not good. Windows 7, good. Windows 8, not good. Windows 10, good. Windows 11 is a big old question mark. There is still a chance it could pull a Vista on it. It looks good right now, but that's running on idealized hardware. It may get out onto the wild and we'll discover that it is just, it absolutely, like, that the minimum specs that they've quoted us are still hilariously underpowered. And it turns out you have to have a 16-core processor and 32 gigs of RAM to actually run it comfortably or something like that. It's possible that we could have another Vista situation on our hands, but I am hopeful that Windows 11 will break the cycle that they have been running in since like 1991.
It's already broken the cycle just because it's going from 10 to 11. Granted, that being said, they did go from 7 to 8.
They did go from 7 to 8 to 10.
It's got things against it, yes. But I think, I don't know. It looks okay. You know, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. So the one thing we did kind of talk about a little earlier before we started recording was one thing that they are saying before you can actually install Windows 11, which has caused a lot of controversy, is they said that you have on your motherboard, you have to have a TPM 2.0 support to install Windows 11. Caleb, would you go a little bit more onto what TPM is for the listener so they understand what that is?
So TPM is what does it stand for again? We looked it up just before we started. Something platform monitor. I can't remember.
Oh, sorry, I sprung it on you.
Terminal.
Trusted platform module.
Trusted platform monitor. Yes.
That's
so TPM is a hardware security feature that has been implemented on in computers of many different types for decades. Like TPM is nothing new. What they're talking about, TPM 2.0, is a little bit more specific. So what this is referring to is an ability on your motherboard for your security chip to handle a certain specification of hardware security. So this handles encoding of public keys, private keys, and stuff for encryption on your computer, user credentials, firmware credentials, so on and so forth. All of that is managed by TPM in order to keep it secure. Like it does hardware encoding for those credentials and manages them securely. A little bit like a secure enclave on an Apple device, except the scope is much narrower. So that's what TPM is. TPM 2.0 is not new. TPM 2.0 has been around since like 2015. That was when the Linux kernel first implemented support for it. So it's not, this is not new. This is not being sprung on us or anything like that. And odds are pretty good, listener, that if your computer has been made since 2015, or your motherboard has been made since 2015, you have got support for TPM 2.0 already. The one thing you may want to check is go into your BIOS settings and make sure it's actually turned on before you try to install Windows 11. So that's kind of the thing there. Yes, really old computers, really old in quotes, old computers that are older than 2015, of which I own many, they're probably not going to be able to install Windows 11. You can get TPM upgrade modules to dock on your motherboards for those. But I think it's fair to say that if your platform is that old anyways, then you're not going to be getting your best computing experience anyways. Like this has been, it's more than, I can do math, like 6 years, we're coming up on 7 years old for TPM 2.0. So if you're still rocking a platform from that long ago, it's worth thinking of upgrading. Or,
Agreed.
Wait until 2025 when Windows 10 gets end-of-lifed and upgrade then, because then you'll have gotten a solid 10 years out of your platform. And that's pretty good,
Yeah.
So
that's what that is.
That's what that is.
So awesome. Thank you for at least giving a better version of what I could have explained that on. So thank you.
Brief overview.
There you go. Perfect. And that there was pretty much what they talked about for Windows 11 and it's coming out. So and that's actually kind of all the Microsoft news that I have as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on. We're going to actually move on today. We're going to go talk to Landon now. We'll let Caleb be the last one on the podcast today, because I hear we might have something really extra special.
Well, yes, but also Landon doesn't have any general tech news, do you?
Nope. No, I don't.
It's just gaming news.
Oh, that's right. You did say gaming,
which is flipping weird. I'll grant you.
That's true. You know what? I'm sorry. I for some reason I forgot it was gaming. So we'll hold off on that. We're moving to Caleb then. Caleb, you save that one piece.
Yes. No, I will save my gaming news, for later. I do have a couple of items of general tech news. First of all, some actual Apple stuff that is happening. Apple has been whining to the leakers in their community. They've had lawyers contacting some of them with cease and desist letters. So that's a thing that is happening. Undeterred, Ming-Chi Kuo went ahead and released a bunch of leaks also this past week. So, stuff like we're expecting underscreen Touch ID sensors in the iPhone 14. So not this year, but next year. Also that Apple is playing around with larger screen sizes for iPads, which I think I can just get right out in front of this and go ahead and say, don't. Like, are you kidding? That's not... No, just make a touchscreen iMac. Like, anyways. Larger than 13 inches for a tablet. That's not a tablet anymore. It is a desk.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's some of the leaks. Another announcement from Apple that might apply to you, listener, so pay attention. They have released a list of devices to keep away from your pacemaker or other medical devices. Not necessarily surprising. Apple devices use a lot of magnets. Like, this is not new. This has been this way for a long time. But I think with the introduction of the quote-unquote Touch ID charging puck and stuff like that for iPhones, and the fact that their phone cases and the phones themselves have these giant rings of, like, super strong rare earth magnets in them, they're just like, maybe if you have a pacemaker, be careful about putting this in your shirt pocket.
Oh, jeez.
Just a thought. You don't want to die. So if you're curious about which devices this applies to and which medical devices they're referring to, they have a support page for it. I actually have a link for it that I will send to Landon. We can put it in the show notes so you can go check that out if you're concerned. Now, moving on to some general tech news. Both of these things are, I think, objectively bad. So here's your depressing tech news segment for the week, listener. First off, smart homes. The state of Texas changed the temperature in the homes of some of their energy customers that had smart thermostats without their customers knowing. They just woke up in the morning and the temperature in their house had jumped like 8 to 10 degrees. What had happened is they had unknowingly opted into a grid optimization program that was directly controlling their smart home thermostats. And this is, I'm sorry, like, if you've seen any sci-fi dystopia movies from the past 20 to 30 years, this ought to sound eerily familiar. So,
yeah.
if you have ever wondered, listener, why I have talked about, like, I have not talked glowingly about the concept behind smart homes, this is why. Like, I don't live in Texas. I don't think that's a problem here, but who the heck knows when it might start being one.
Oof.
And the last piece of depressing tech news, and this one, again, listener, you may want to pay close attention to this. Western Digital MyBook NAS drives have been remotely wiped by malware. So what happened is some folks that had these MyBook network attached storage drives, that's what NAS stands for. They're just basically external hard drives that you plug into an Ethernet cable, and it allows you to access the storage from any device on your network. Network attached storage is super convenient, and it's really nice to have a plug and play setup for it. It's not so great when you go to access the storage on that network attached storage and go and find out it's all empty. You had 2 terabytes of storage of stuff on there before, and suddenly you have nothing because you got a virus that erased everything. So if you have one of these things and you haven't already, unplug the network cable. Western Digital has told everybody to get these off of the internet. They're going to be shipping a firmware update that will remove the vulnerability that was exploited. Here's the real kicker. This exploit was known about like 2 years ago or something like that. And they did patch like some of them, but they were not real good about letting people know about it and getting patches installed and stuff like that. So now people have lost data as a result.
Yeah. Now, from what I understand, it's one specific version of their NAS hard drives. It's the MyBook Live, and they haven't actually made any of these for a few years. They've been off the market anyways. So you may not have one of these ones, but I would still recommend unplugging it just to be safe.
Yes.
If it's a different one.
Then check with Western Digital's website and see if they have a firmware update for you. Because yes, that is the thing. They haven't released any new ones for a while, but that means that all of the ones that they made have this vulnerability. So patches did go out, but they were sporadically installed. So you need to make sure that you update to the latest security. And here's a tip. With these network attached storage, like, I get the appeal of the basic, buy one from Western Digital that has like this plug and play. You just set it up really easily from an app or whatever. There is definitely something to be said about just doing your homebrewed thing. You just get a low powered computer and load it up with a bunch of hard drives and then install open source NAS software on it, because the open source stuff is more robust because it's peer reviewed out the wazoo by the community before it goes anywhere. And it's internet accessible. So it will install its own security updates and stuff like that just as they get released. It's much more secure way to do things. Whereas, these custom little NAS enclosures from companies like Seagate or Western Digital, they are probably going to need to be plugged into a computer and discreetly updated. A lot of them, especially older ones, will not have the ability to do over-the-air updates enabled. So, if you've got a MyBook Live NAS storage drive from Western Digital and you haven't already unplugged it from the internet or from the Ethernet, then you should do that, and then you should plug into it with a USB cable and make sure that your stuff is still there. But that's all my tech news.
Wow.
Happy to end on a sad note. Wait.
Not happy?
Right, unhappy.
Well, I mean, it's we got to definitely mention it where we can, because holy cow, I didn't even know that. And I have one of those, probably not the version, and I don't connect mine Ethernet. It's directly to my computer, so...
Yeah, so those are mostly okay. The ones that are like network attached, but they run through a computer, you should be fine. It's the ones that connect directly to your router and have their own network attached.
As you were talking about it, I was like, I need to see if my stuff's still here.
Double check the family photos.
Okay, we're good.
Well, and what I've been looking into one of those because I want something that I can just very easily remotely take stuff from my phone or computer and throw onto that. So I'm like, okay, I won't be getting that one.
Yeah. Dang.
And now that you mentioned that, Caleb, I'm like, you need to build me one of these, Caleb. Come on.
It's definitely a thing. And one of the options for this, like, I know it can sound like, oh geez, I have to build my own enclosure with hard drives and stuff like that. It's going to be super expensive and it'll be obnoxious and that sort of thing. You can just buy an older PC that, like from a thrift store or something like that.
Yeah.
And then just load it up with storage drives as much as you can.
Go find an original cheese grater Mac and just load that up.
No, those have tons of bays.
Yeah.
And honestly, any old desktop PC, like an old Dell or something like that, they have almost always at least 2 bays for 3.5-inch hard drives. And then if they have a floppy drive or a disk drive, take that out. You can use that bay for a hard drive. True. And then they'll have a couple of the 5-inch drive bays for CD players, DVD players, whatever. You can put hard drives in those too. You can screw them down. It's fine. So that's 5 drives right there. And if you're loading those up with, 2 terabyte drives each or 3 terabyte drives each, that's tons of space. You don't need more than that. So yeah, like this can be done on the cheap, listener. It's just don't, in fact, maybe I should probably make a YouTube video about that if I'm talking about it.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
Give yourself a good idea. That's a good idea. It really
Yes.
is.
You can make a YouTube video about how you built one for me, right?
Yeah, no, that's a thing I can do. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Landon's password. This is how you get on Landon's stuff. Take his pictures from when he went to Hawaii and oh, whoops. Just kidding. Anyway, so let's get into some gaming news, and we will do that. So, hey, Landon, do you want to talk on your gaming news now?
Yes. Gaming news from me.
Yay! There it is.
Yes. This isn't that exciting, actually. So we mentioned a few weeks ago that Google is finally going to be bringing Stadia to Android TV.
Yes.
Well, it is now live in the Play Store on Android TV devices. So if you have an Android TV device, like the Chromecast with Google TV or a Shield TV or something like that, this is now available. And you can actually, more easily play Stadia games on your TV. Weird.
That is great.
I did see that they were offering, if you had a Chromecast with Google TV already, and you were had it set up and signed into and whatnot, they were sending out emails to people offering a Chromecast Stadia controller for 50% off, which made it around $30 for the controller, which isn't bad. So if you are one of the few that had one of those Chromecasts with Google TVs and had it set up, because I didn't get this email because I've never set mine up, obviously, as we've discussed in previous episodes.
Yeah.
But if you had it set up, then you probably would have gotten this email. So either look for it or go to your spam and try and find it or something if you are interested in getting Stadia on that device. And that's all of my news for this week. Not much.
Hey, that's good news. It's good news for people that are on Stadia and TV, I guess. Awesome. All right, Caleb. What kind of gaming news do you have for us?
All right. I got a few things. It's good stuff. Good news on the gaming side, so that's nice. First of all, for you PlayStation players, Hades, which is looking like it's going to be the indie game darling of the decade, is going to be released on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 in August. They'd already announced that it's coming to the Xbox, and it was obviously released on the PC. So based on the development cycle of Transistor, which was Supergiant Games' last extremely popular indie game, it'll be coming to iOS next. Which
nice.
Makes sense in Transistor because that was kind of like a slower turn-based combat sort of thing. Hades is not that. So actually, it probably will not come to iOS. And if it does, it's gonna be really, really hard to play. I don't know how you'd play Hades with touchscreen controls. But I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, August, it's also going to be landing on PlayStation 4 and 5.
Cool.
Next up, Aliens. They've announced a new game in the Aliens franchise. It's called Fireteam Elite. What this looks like is basically Left 4 Dead in the Aliens universe. So, okay, that's not necessarily a terrible thing. The trailers did sort of make it feel a little bit like it might be Colonial Marines all over again, which was a notoriously awful Alien game.
Hmm.
That being said, I hope they're not that stupid. No, a lot of the issues with Aliens Colonial Marines were they were production related, and the production was awful and so on and so forth. So hopefully that is not going to be the case for Aliens Fireteam Elite. All right, so next up, we talked a little bit when we were covering Computex about how AMD had announced that they were finally going to be releasing their competitor to NVIDIA's DLSS, which is called Fidelity Super Resolution, or FSR, which is what I'm going to be calling it from now on, because Fidelity Super Resolution is a really long name. So that has officially launched as of this past week. If you have a supported AMD GPU, then you should update your drivers and your games. It's basically just free frames. Like, it makes your game have more frames for not a whole lot of visual degradation, as long as you don't turn down the quality settings too much. There are not a ton of supported titles currently, only 7, which are 22 Racing Series, which I've never even heard of that before. Anno 1800, Evil Genius 2, Godfall, King's Hunt, Terminator Resistance, and The Rift Breaker. They've also announced 12 additional upcoming titles, including stuff like Baldur's Gate 3, Dota 2, Resident Evil Village, and Vampire the Masquerade's Blood Hunt. So, there is some support coming. This is currently just for AMD's graphics cards. So, but there is a possibility that with a little bit of work from NVIDIA or Intel on their integrated graphics, which I feel like is where this might end up being the most useful, that you could be able to have these increases on that side as well. So if you are running a 1440 or 1440p monitor or a 4K monitor, then that's probably where this is going to be the best. If you set it to like the quality setting for the display image quality, that one seems like the sweet spot. You get a little bit of like fringing and stuff like that, but it does a pretty good job of upscaling it, maintaining most of the visual quality. So you get what looks like a pretty solid 4K image, even though it's only rendering the image at 1440p, or you get a good 1440p image, even though it's only rendering at 1080. So there you go. It works. It's not as good as NVIDIA's DLSS 2.0, but obviously you can run it on a much broader range of graphics cards than just the 20 series and 30 series RTX cards. So
right.
There you go. And finally, in the camp of Doom modders are just the most fantastic people on the planet, what we have for you today, listener, is an IKEA lamp that runs Doom. So what this is the trad-free smart lamp. So it's a smart lamp, which means it has a microcontroller. It's a Cortex ARM controller, which has more than enough processing power to emulate what is necessary for Doom. Now, the modders of this thing did have a couple of significant challenges they had to overcome. First of all, this thing only has 108 kilobytes of RAM, which is quite a bit less than the 320-something kilobytes that Doom needs to run natively. So it doesn't necessarily run well, but they did manage to hack it together such that it will, in fact, run. Also, they had to add a display, because it's a lamp. Like,
I know.
Doesn't have a built-in display. But there you go. Plug your lamp into a monitor. You can play Doom on it. What I would actually like to see next is for them to figure out some way to plug in like a smart LED bulb or something like that, and then somehow use that as a display. Or basically figure out how to play Doom with just 1 pixel. I don't know. Because that's pretty much what it would be. Be interesting to see if they could do that. I don't know if that's possible. But if any of Doom modders are listening, there's your next challenge. We need a 1 pixel version of Doom that you can play on a smart lamp. But yes, there you are.
Amazing.
Doom is the gift that keeps on giving where modders and hacking are concerned.
I remember I remember one of my old tablets. It was, what was it, like the Transformer 101 or something. When tablets were big, those Android ones, I remember I had a screensaver that had the Doom guy just moving around, and when a monster would spawn and he would shoot it, kill it, and the body would fall, and then he'd just sit there, and I would watch that all the time because it was so cool. And I was sitting there thinking about that the other day, and I was like, I would love it if I could have that as like a cool screensaver on my phone again or something. Like, it was so cool.
Because phones have screensavers.
I just haven't found one that someone updated yet. That was probably legit. But no, it's amazing. Like, I say this every time, but Doom, everything, a lamp.
It is just one of those games that has been played with so much that it is understood like so deeply in so many different ways. Like, people understand the code base for Doom in ways that no other game is understood, because nobody has tried to do any of this crap on almost anything else. Like, it's nuts. But
it's gonna be like one of the new things. You know how before it's like, could it run Crysis? Be like, hey, I just got a thing for my car. Yeah, well, can it run Doom? Like,
I mean, and the answer to that is probably yes.
Yeah, probably
like,
yes.
Let's be honest. The electronic seat controls for your car, like your driver's seat in your car, that might be able to run Doom. And genuinely, again, modders, if you're listening to this, it's free advice. It's a free idea.
Game, I guess.
See if you can do that one. If you can get it to play on the built-in display in the car as well, even better. You just control it with your seat control. That would be amazing, awesome. Actually.
That is awesome. But, well, I think that's the end of our gaming news. I do not have any because, the gaming news I had was for Windows 11. So
right.
We already talked about that. So, unless Landon has one more thing he can pull out of his hat.
I already gave you something, so just no.
I don't know. There was times you had two.
He's not wearing a hat.
Well, yeah. Maybe that's the tell I need. Is whenever you're wearing a hat, you always have like gaming news or something.
Ooh, whoa.
No.
Whatever, even Caleb was intrigued.
That's asking too much. No.
Okay. I think we're rambling. So we'll go ahead and we'll end this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, listener. We appreciate you listening this far and with us for almost 5 full years. Ooh, isn't that crazy?
Getting close.
It is. But if you have any questions or concerns or want to check out the notes on the show, you can actually get onto our website at callingallplatforms.com. You can also contact us on our social media platforms. And if you want to see any cool new videos and possibly a new video on putting together a very cheap server for yourself or your own storage, this might be coming up soon on our YouTube channel, Calling All Platforms Tech.
Evidently, I have volunteered for that.
He did. He just did. So I'm going to make sure he follows through.
Oh, boy.
All right. All right, dear listener. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Are you ready, Landon?
Si, senor.
Are you recording?
Si, senor.
Okay.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.